If you were to ask anyone you know to check the tag on their clothing and recite the brand to you, most likely it would be familiar because it would be either from a popular mall store or a website that pops up on your Facebook ads. But have you ever taken a moment to think, why is it so easy for these quote-unquote household name brands to hold so much leverage in the percentage of clothing that we purchase and everyone else around us purchases? The answer to that seemingly simple question is more devastating and consequential than we may think. Fast fashion thrives at the magnitude it does due to global exploitation of cheap labor and producing items at a rate the globe itself can't really keep up with, because what's produced by this industry creates harmful materials for the environment and with the things it's created with. As college students, we can easily be tempted by these fast fashion brands due to the trends to keep up with and the low prices they hold, but the long-term effects can really impact our future as young people and our loved ones around us. Since I myself have virtually been consuming fast fashion for my whole life, it really makes me question what I can do myself and how it really impacts me as a person and what I can do in my daily life to help stop the negative impacts of fast fashion and what it really does to the world. So in this speech, I would like to lay out the pros and cons of fast fashion and inform you how truly harmful and monumental the impacts that this industry can have on the earth that we call home and to the other inhabitants on earth. So I've been talking this whole time about fast fashion, but what really is the definition? So the formal definition of fast fashion is defined by sustainable online company Good On You as cheap, trendy clothing that samples ideas from the catwalk or celebrity culture that turns them into garments in high street stores at breakneck speed. The fashion industry is the second largest in the entire world, meaning that demand for clothing will only increase from here, most likely, leading to many large companies within this industry finding the cheapest and easiest ways to create these products and sell them. So we may be under the impression that it is a positive thing that we have access to these items and pretend that we're on the cover of Vogue when we get our new outfit from Forever 21, but the personal benefits that we gain from fast fashion pale in comparison to the negative impacts it has on the globe as a whole. So labor laws differ from country to country, meaning American standard of what is like ethical and right for labor standards are different than countries with such a large industry complex such as China. So fast fashion companies that reside in more developed countries take advantage of the low trade barriers from countries with more lax labor laws by obtaining cheap labor from them and outsourcing this production into countries they mainly import to, disregarding how unethical the labor standards are. So a primary example of the negative impact that industries create by large expansion and through outsourced laborers in these poor countries are one of the infamous happenings was the Rana building collapse that occurred in 2013 in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is a very popular country for this outsourcing of the developing nations. So the poor working conditions in the factory were being ignored, and the ethical principles weren't really put into place. So the people in charge didn't really take into consideration the complaints. So the building was in such poor condition it completely collapsed, killing more than 1,000 workers. And this is just one of the many negative causes that the fast fashion industry creates by outsourcing cheap labor. This industry has also grown so much, the fast fashion companies will do whatever it takes to distribute the largest quantity of their goods at the cheapest price possible. So as previously mentioned, there are also staggering negative impacts fast fashion has on an ecological scale, not just the outsourcing scale. So an article written by Forbes stated that in the US, only 10% of donated clothes get resold. So that means the rest floods landfills, and we send 13 trillion tons of our clothes to landfills in the US alone, where they sit for more than 200 years, and they leave toxic chemicals from products that include polyester and many other harmful things that soak into the soil and never really leave. So fast fashion is one of the main reasons that the earth is taking such a rapid decline downward. Fast fashion takes advantage of cheap and easy to produce fabrics such as polyester, as I said before, to create thousands of items. that they can just distribute more and more every day. So also, since there is such a high demand for clothes that are dependent on our latest trends, these companies kind of have to keep up with these trends and make more and more products each day, so they can make up to like 1,000 new products that are available on websites or in stores each day. So when these clothes go out of style, unfortunately, or either grown out, only a small portion are actually donated or resold to, and most of it just goes straight to landfills. So this problem can be easily solved by higher levels of recycling, donating, and shopping at thrift stores such as Goodwill and Carm. They have that where I live. But however, until we make drastic shifts in how we discard our unwanted clothing, our landfills, oceans, and maybe even streets will gather more and more piles of waste and just hurt the environment so bad. So with all these negative aspects to this industry, there may be some pros and cons that we really need to weigh before actually like making assumptions about such an influential industry in our lives, right? So when you weigh the pros and cons of fast fashion in our world, you need to take into account that although you may personally benefit from fast fashion while either getting clothes easy or at a cheap price, you have to really weigh, like, is that worth having access to expensive, like at the expense of the terrible labor conditions that they have to force in like third world countries and the declining environment. So it is hard for one person to have a huge impact on such a large industry, as I stated before, the second largest industry in the world. But it's kind of a choice where you personally want your money to go to, and what you know, like how ethically you know the clothes you buy or produce. So so yes, it may seem like to you personally that this industry benefits the U.S. economy, which it does, but looking on a local level of this industry, there's great amount of economic suffering. So think about how local clothing stores and brands are impacted by the rising popularity of online huge chain mall store popularity, even though local brands produce at a higher quality and they put more care into their products. So you may hold national and local economies at different standards, but still see the positives to fast fashion. So regardless of how these pros and cons of the industry are viewed, the negative impacts are real, and if nothing is done to change this, the direction we're just going to go as a globe is just going to keep declining, and it will be hard to go back after it really happens. So in conclusion, fashion is the second largest industry in the world today. You and everyone you know most certainly indulge in fashion and all the newest and latest trends that accompany it, but have you really thought about how it is made feasible for so many trendy yet cheap articles of clothing to be distributed out of the world? The fast aspect of this phenomenon is more heartbreaking than you could actually imagine. So there are pros and cons to how fast fashion is viewed, but the cons in fast fashion will carry irreversible effects that will come faster than we think, and it will be hard after these changes have occurred. So next time you're shopping at a specific clothing item or just simply browsing through a website, a store, or a mall, keep in mind that the value your money has can have partaking in the fashion industry. That was bad.